Sydney's eastern suburbs are creating some serious buzz in the property market at the moment, whether it's the huge sales going down at the prestige end or new developments underway. We've seen stunning homes sell for close to $2 million above reserve, and foreign investors being ordered to relist famous homes. And I can't wait to see what happens the rest of the year ahead. And to make a bit of a sense of this market and provide some insight into where it's heading, I'm joined by Ray White Double Bay Director Craig Pontey. Craig, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here.
So Craig, we've seen quite a list of recent big sales going on in the east, and I was wondering, is the prestige market really firing up now?
Well, it's probably the strongest I've seen it in 37 years. There's no doubt that real pointy end, and the pointy end in the east, the top end sales over 20 million, there's been 15 or 16 of them in the last 12 or 18 months. That's where the real strength's been. And those people, yes, they've been people coming in from Beijing, Shanghai, from China, but there's also been quite a lot of local money being invested. We sold a home in Wentworth Place not long ago for $32 million to local money. Just recently, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we sold another one in Wolseley Road for $28 million, Chinese money. And as you mentioned a moment ago, the one that everyone's talking about at the moment, the $39 million purchase by a gentleman from China. There's a lot of money out there, and it's chasing very limited opportunities in that, particularly in that Point Piper and that waterfront region.
Okay, so I mean, what are some of the rules around these Chinese buyers coming in? I mean, if you're saying a lot of the money's coming from China, obviously, how are they able to buy these properties? Are they supposed to be new or? Yeah,
look, can I tell you, the most of these people that come to us, these purchasers come to us pre-framed, ready to roll. They've normally been referred to us by an accountant in the city, one of the major firms, a big law firm. Sometimes they've got existing family and friends here, but they're pretty well organised. If they haven't got a visa to be able to purchase, then they know the ways of and means of being able to purchase property here. That's why I'm a little bit surprised about all the press that's been going on around the $39 million sale, because the fellow, I'm sure, is according to the press, he's the 5th richest guy in China. You would have thought that he'd be pretty well organised for his purchase.
Yeah, you think he probably has some pretty decent lawyers working for him too.
Well, if he didn't, I'm sure he has now. Someone's going to get themselves into a bit of trouble if they didn't give him the right advice, I'm sure of that.
That's right. And just steering away from the ultra top end at the moment, just the rest of the market, what are some of the suburbs and markets you see taking off in the east this year, just continuing that growth? Yeah,
look, can I tell you that this is going to sound a little bit silly, but our mid-market is probably that $3 to $6 million range. We're starting to see a lot of activity in that range at the moment. There has been a lot of money made in banking. The bonuses were last year and this year have started to pick up again. So we're starting to see those sorts of guys looking to upgrade themselves. You tend to find they buy better houses and they go buy a boat and a better car, and those sorts of things tend to sort of roll on as people spend money. So that end of the market's been quite strong. The investment market's been probably the strongest I've seen it in 37 years. Little apartments and things. And apartments in the east, aren't cheap anymore. From sort of a low of $600 to $1 million buys you a 2-bedroom apartment, 85, 90 square metres. And there are a lot of people who have been using their self-managed super funds to purchase those sorts of properties. And look, with borrowing rates at the moment, you can get 5-year fixed money at 4.39. Money's just the cheapest it's been for 60 years. So that's also generating quite a lot of activity out there in the market.
And I mean, would interest rates, if they were to go back up again, whenever that happens, and if it happens, because it just doesn't seem like happening anytime soon, is that what the key is to stopping this like astronomical rise in prices, making them level out a little bit?
Well, I think what's happened is the market's been very segregated around that over the last probably 5 or 10 years. In my neck of the woods in the eastern suburbs, it's more about business confidence and people making money in their businesses. If they're doing that, then they see their way clear to buy bigger houses. In certain other markets, it's more about employment. And at the moment, our unemployment figures aren't too crash hot. So, if people are feeling comfortable in their jobs and they feel like they've got full-time employment, then they're prepared to take a bit more risk and go out and borrow a bit more money to be able to get in. But it's getting quite expensive to get in. It's very, very difficult these days for young first home buyers to get into the market. When you see that they're selling modern homes being built in areas maybe an hour and a half drive from Sydney, and they're still selling for $600,000 or $700,000, it's an awful lot of money for a young family to have to commit to and borrow.
Yeah, and there have been some concerns over just the shortage of properties available, and going forward, are we building enough? Now, I know you've got your eye on some developments over there in the eastern suburbs. Are there any that have piqued your interest lately?
Yeah, look, we've had a couple of great successes down there in the east at the moment. We've got a project in Rushcutters Bay that's a new precinct down there called Advanks. Down by the park near the harbour. There's 152 in stage 1, 133 in stage 2 and 42 in stage 3. It's been a major success, and we're just in the process of launching stage 3 at the moment, 1, 2 and 3 bedroom units. That's an area that's got an enormous amount of growth because it's very close to the city. It's on the fringe of the east. Lots of restaurants and easy to get cabs to town, and it's quite close. We're also doing a project up in Paddington in Gordon Street, next to the church in the marketplace there, just off Oxford Street. Again, very much a growth area. Very difficult to get any sort of approval in Paddington for anything. We've got 22 apartments that we'll be marketing up there off the plan in the next month or so. So there's those areas. Anything in the city is very is very keenly sought, and I think we'll have still quite good growth. The state government's not giving us in the east any more height. They're certainly not making any more land in the east, that's for sure. We're landlocked by water, obviously, all the way around. Yeah. So, look, that I can see over time, if you want to take a 5 to 10 year view, is only going to continue to push prices. Yeah. It's getting harder to build, it's getting more costly to build, all those things factor in. And, if this interest rate environment stays where it is and we get good employment, we get all this overseas money coming in, not just from China but other places, the Aussie dollar dropping, look, I think everything augurs really well for the Aussie market. It's the best I think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, so, and just to go back again to that top end, I mean, that really goes to the different beat of a drum than the regular market, doesn't it? So not so much worried about interest rates and things like that. What are some of the factors that drive that top end?
Look, I think ego's a pretty big factor that drives that top end. I think that people that are making serious money in businesses, and look, to go and buy a home for $30 million, you've got to have some net worth. You know what I mean? Like you would think that you'd have to be worth 100 or better to be able to do that. So those sorts of people that buy those homes don't borrow money, or if they do, they borrow very little. It's more a cash purchase. There's been a few of those upgrading. So you've sold one that you've owned for a long time for 10, and then buy something for 20. I know that sounds a bit a bit sort of silly in the scheme of things, but there's a lot of that happening. There's been a lot of people that have been investing in those properties, taking a long-term view that they'll pick up a lot more capital growth. Because let's face it, our home's the only thing today that's capital gains tax free. It's very hard not to pay the government tax on anything other than your own home. So that'll drive. I'm sure that'll drive that market continually.
And I mean, like looking at the foreign investor situation, I know another thing that helps expats and also investors from other countries, just in general, get in is the falling Aussie dollar. So as that comes down, now we're looking at even more demand. Are we going to see like this clamp down on buyers? Are we going to see any more of these properties given back anytime soon, do you think?
Look, it's hard to know. I think you made the point a bit earlier that the FIRB have got limited staff and limited resources. I suppose if the government's serious about making a commitment around it, then they need to throw more resources at it and more people. It's not something that the real estate industry should be controlling. It's more of the government should be keeping an eye on it. Look, I think you'll find that we're going to get a lot more offshore investment coming into the country, not just from China. I think you'll find it'll start to come from other places because we look like a safe environment. We've got a safe economy, and if the dollar does continue to drop, where else are they going to put their money? They're getting nothing on cash in the bank in Europe and Asia and USA at the moment. At least here they're getting some sort of a return. Even on resi you can get 2.5-3%. So much better return than in their country. And if the Aussie dollar then does start to appreciate over time, they get it both ways. They pick it up on the capital growth, and then they pick it up when they ship the money out of the country again down the track. Yeah.
So I guess for a lot of the guys as well, it's not like. A lot of us might go into property investment to get a bit of capital gain or a bit of rental return, but for these guys it's more about parking a lot of money in a strong, stable asset for a long period of time.
And look, if I look back at my own personal circumstances, if I hadn't bought real estate over time, I would not have made any money. It's the best advice I can give anybody out there, even if they're first starting. Go and buy a studio apartment somewhere, or go and buy something small. Just buy something. It gets you into that routine of paying a mortgage. It gets you into a credit credit rating situation, assuming that you do the right thing, obviously. It just gets you into that routine of doing something, and you'll find that over time, if you take a 5 to 10 year view, just about no matter what you buy, hopefully you'll pick up some capital gain, and then that'll allow you then either to sell that to buy something better, or keep that as the cornerstone to maybe borrow a bit more against that and a bit more against what you buy, and build your net worth. And look, let's face it, it's been the great Australian dream, own the quarter acre block. I think that might be changing a little bit because the quarter acre block's starting to get pretty expensive.
Indeed.
But I think these days, with the amount of apartment developments that are around, there's still great opportunities for people young and old to be able to take advantage of that.
Sound advice. Craig Pontey, thanks very much for joining me.
It's been a pleasure, thank you.